All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all praise, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bashim, Yahushai, Bashim, Rechak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well, and as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. Now, there seems to be this energy amongst our people, Jake that's on the outside, still searching and seeking. There seems to be an energy or an effort where, they're putting it out to others, not to join the camps, to stay away from the camps, come out of religion, period. We're not Israelites, or we are Israelites, but the Most High is not dealing with camps. So it seemed like, Jake is on that time right now, where you're seeing that Jake is really not only a rebellious people, but they lack faith. And even Yahushai warned that this is a people of whom is no faith. Yahushai said, basically when he returned, will he so find faith on earth? So, there's this effort to, get people to not listen and to, not join any of these camps. All right. Now, yeah, you have a lot of heresy groups out there. You got a lot of confusion. You got false leaders, and a lot of them are getting exposed with these scandals. So it got Jake scattering, and they don't know what to believe. But you won't have an issue if you're of the elect. The Lord will direct you to the right, true men, because there is the true 100% doctrine, and the Lord does have men that he set up. You can read Jeremiah 3:14. The Lord set up pastors according to his heart that will feed you with knowledge and wisdom. You got Isaiah 30, around verse 20, where it says that though the Lord give you, the bread of adversity, will his teachers not be removed into a corner anymore? But thine eye shall see thy teachers, and you shall hear a word behind you saying to the left and to the right, basically, get you to the path. So, you have the Lord, in these last days, that's, sending his prophets, B times to give you the warning, to prepare you for the times that are coming. But you got certain Jake scoffing at that. They don't want to hear the reality. They want to hear smooth things. They want to hear lies and deceits. So what we're seeing is just Jake, they're a nation of no faith. They need reasons and excuses to not really believe. And they want to be able to do their own thing without coming up, under an order. No, like it says in John, who Yahushai said, they don't want to come into the light lest their deeds should be reproved. They love darkness rather than the light. So we expect this kind of energy, especially in these last days, and especially with, guys like Trump in office. We know that the persecution is going to be turned up, in the time to come. All right. So Jake don't want to have to go through that. They don't want to get blamed. They don't want to be persecuted. They want to be in a safe little bubble, thinking that if they pray to Jesus or Yeshua or whatever name that they use, that they'll be all right. So I'm gonna play this little clip right here. All right, he looks like a baby David Benavidez, but you're gonna hear him, and the rhetoric that's coming from him. You got a lot of this energy on social media, especially on TikTok. They're saying that don't listen to the camps. You could believe you an Israelite, but don't believe what the camps is talking about. They're false. They're set up. They're here to deceive you. Don't follow man. So this is what I'm gonna do. So let me get back to that.
Rock out with family. I have a message, guys. You need to leave these organizations, these Hebrew Israelites, Jehovah's Witnesses. You need to leave Christianity. You need to leave religion for a relationship with Yahushua HaMashiach. Okay, I'm telling you, nowhere in the Bible did he tell you to call yourself by a label or a name. What?
So he said nowhere in the scriptures does it say that you should call yourself by a label or by a name. So I guess he didn't read this scripture. Let's go here real quick, which it was prophesied that would happen. Let's go to Isaiah 44. What did the Lord say that he would leave his name? You ask Jake that. Where did he say that he would place his name? Right. This is Isaiah 44. And the point is in verse 5. I'll actually start at the top. Isaiah 44:1, it says, Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, in Israel, whom I have chosen. So the Lord, he told you throughout the scriptures that he chose a people, and that happened to be Israel, Yasharallah, which is a people. Okay? It's a bloodline, a lineage. It's not just a religious organization. All right? It's not just, something you just become or join. It's something that you're born, and that's how you know when a lot of these Jakes come into the truth, they really don't fully understand what they're involved with. If you think that you can join being an Israelite like you could join being a Baptist or a Jehovah's Witness or a Muslim, you already coming in with the lack of understanding. Okay? It says, Thus saith the Lord that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jezreel, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. What did Yahushua say? He that believeth on me, as the scriptures have said, out of his belly shall flow river of living water. So that water is a metaphor for this knowledge, this truth. All right. And the Lord will give you the spirit to understand, the spirit of truth. I will pour out my spirit upon thy seed and my blessing upon thine offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. Because we're going to understand the Most High's doctrine. Okay. It says, one shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of Israel. So there you have it. This is why we calling ourselves Israelites. Did not Apostle Paul, he referred to himself as an Israelite? He said, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. So what's wrong with calling yourself what you actually are? Unless you want to go back to being black. Was that simply not a nationality? Okay. That was a man-made construct that an enemy, an oppressor stuck to you, and it caused, a worldwide a stigma where people, look down upon you. All right. We know that black is a negative term. So what are you going to call yourself? Oh, Latino? That's not a nationality either. So anyway, let's go back to the video. So you can see he already just speaking out of his heart. He's not, referencing the scriptures. Now he got scriptures posted up in a connotation on screen, but it's like, okay, what is the point? What point are you making with putting these scriptures up?
It's said in the Bible is in Acts chapter 9 verse 2, in Acts chapter 22 verse 4, and in Acts chapter 24 verse 14. When the foundation of the assembly was being built, it was built off of following the way. Why? Because Yahusha HaMashiach, John 14 verse 6, was the way, the truth, and the life. The reason why they call themselves followers of the way is because they followed the way, the truth, and the life, which was Yahusha and is Yahusha HaMashiach. Guys, I see a lot of people getting drawn into these groups, so you need to leave them, or you're going to be tied to the same fate as them if you don't. I'm being serious, guys.
Well, you'd have a point if Yahushua wasn't the foundation, who you ignorantly called Yahushua, or whatever name you're calling him. All right. Our foundation is our Lord Yahushua. We understand that he's the truth, the way, the life. All right. You can't climb up no other way. All right. Lest you be a thief. We already know this, man. Can no man come to the Father except he draw them? And ultimately, it is determined based on if you're of the elect. All right. And the Lord, he gives all his elect. They're all going to have that holy calling. All right. That vocation. Okay. But you show me anywhere in the scriptures where if you're a part of a sect, all right, an organization, that you're not going to be saved, or the Lord is not dealing with you if you're a part of a sect. What did the Lord say that, don't be in a group? Now you'll see in the book of Acts, everybody was a part of some type of sect or group. We know that the Pharisees, they were a sect, they were an organization or a group. Now, you had a bulk of them that didn't believe. They were not believers. They believed that the law, through the justification of the law, you would be saved. But you also had Pharisees that did believe. All right, that did follow the Messiah. Okay, Paul was one of them in his ignorance until he went on that journey. Because he was one of the chosen vessels, but before the Lord opened his eyes, he thought he was doing the Lord a service by persecuting the church. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's go to the book of Acts. And this is when, it got hot and Paul was getting persecuted. Because you had those of the other sects that didn't believe what Paul was teaching, because he was a minister of grace to the Israelite foreigners that, the circumcision was calling Gentiles. They were being offended and they were, being zealous against him. And all he was trying to do was just, declare to them that, hey, the Messiah came to me and revealed these things to me. And I'm commanded to go out there. A dispensation of the gospel was committed to me. All right. And I'm not teaching anything against the law, the things contained in the law. All right. In the Psalms or in the prophets. And some people were persuaded and some wasn't. But when it was all said and done, Israel got offended and they tried to give him up just like they gave the Lord up. This is Acts 24. And this is Paul before the governor. Let me see. Here we go. This is Acts 24 and 1. It says 5 days later, Ananias, right, or Ananias, the high priest, arrived with some of the Jewish leaders. This is in the NLT, and the lawyer Tertullus, to present their case against Paul to the governor. So this is the Israelite going to the enemy. All right. To try to judge a matter between Israelites. When Paul was called in, Tertullus presented the charges against Paul in the following address to the governor. You have provided a long period of peace for us Jews, and with foresight have enacted informs for us. For all of this, Your Excellency, we're very grateful to you. Jake had to, soften his voice up, I'm pretty sure. He had to, show kind words, to the governor, because, we were basically like a vessel under the Roman Empire. So this is how Jake had to, approach. All right. It says, but I don't want to bore you, so please give me your attention for only a moment. We have found this man to be a troublemaker who is constantly stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. And a lot of these Israelites on the outside, they're probably paying attention and watching, what's been going on, with the different various camps out there. Very controversial. A lot of people don't agree, because our people, they were bred here in America, man. They grew up, drinking that Babylonian juice, that wine. So a lot of our people, they're confused. They have a warped way of thinking. So our job is to go out there and try to break these strongholds that got our people mentally captive. All right. And some of our people, they're being broken through. All right. And some of our people, they're stuck. But they know how controversial we are, and we're making a lot of noise. And I'm talking about basically the one West camps. That's who really gets separated from everybody else. They don't talk about them other Israelite groups. They don't never talk about those Old Testament only Israelites. They don't never talk about the Israelite groups that be in these other countries, like over in Dimona, Israel. They don't talk about them like that. The only ones that's making noise and got Jake, either speaking evil, or they actually are waking up. Is One West. And but yeah, we know that there's a lot of leadership that's compromised, because the enemy, when they see a growing threat, they have to suppress it by infiltrating it. So you got weird behavior and strange doctrines coming from certain Israelite leaders, because a lot of men are being compromised. But if you're of the elect, the Lord's going to direct you. You will find that particular group of men, all right, that's in the same mind, all right, that are one in judgment, all right. They share the same faith. They have the ultimate love for one another. Then you shall know my disciples by the love that they will have for another. So they will have a solid brotherhood. They would all speak the same thing. There will be no divisions when it comes to, with their teaching. Those are all indicators. And it's on you to have that discernment. The Lord is pretty much going to put that discernment on his elect, and they will be directed to the true men. All right. But if you don't have that, then you're going to be another scattered Israelite. You don't know what to believe. You don't know where to go. You're just going to be to and fro, like this guy. That's why he's saying, just don't believe none of this stuff. Don't go into no group. All right, just be on your own and just seek the Lord. Well, it doesn't happen that way, because you're gonna have men set up by the Lord to lead you in the way. All right. Paul said to follow me even as I follow Hamashiach. For you have me as an example. So you have, men, you have a body of elders, apostles, teachers. All right. That's going to help to build the church. But it just comes down to Jake not wanting to come up under no order or authority. So we're going to see. But anyway, going back to this particular verse, this is what I want to bring out. This is what they said about Apostle Paul, right? We have found this man to be a troublemaker who is constantly stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world, right? A lot of arguments, heated arguments, debates, people confronting the camps, all these things are happening. Sometimes, it might get a little heated to where An altercation breaks out. That was happening back then. There's no new thing under the sun. They got so bad at one point. I think it was Claudius Caesar. He had to banish a lot of Jews out of Rome because of this. It says he is a ringleader of the cult. They like to say, oh, they're a cult. They love to use that word cult as if it's an insult. A cult is just simply a sect. All right, a tenet of believers who share the same view. All right, and doctrine. Christianity is a cult. All right, the Roman Catholic Church is a cult. Islam is a cult. All right, hey, Calvinism, the apologists, they're a cult. But when they throw that term towards us, it's in a with negative connotation. And when you actually look it up, simply in the etymology, it simply means to cultivate. To labor, and that's a form of worship, because we labor in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. That's who we worship. So, hey, we're a Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai cult. Okay. So they said that Paul was a ringleader of the cult known as the Nazarenes. You look up the history on them, they were an actual group. The Nazarenes says were an early Jewish Christian sect in the first century Judaism. The first use of the term is found in the Acts of the Apostles of the New Testament, where Paul the Apostle was accused of being a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes before the Roman procurator Antonius Felix at Caesarea Maritima by Tertullus. At that time, the term simply designated followers of Yahushua of Nazarene, as the Hebrew term, all right, which is I believe it's Taza Raya, if I'm not mistaken, and the Arabic term Nazrani still do. All right. So yeah, this was a group, an organization. Okay. The Lord, he was born in Bethlehem, as the prophecy said, but he was raised in Nazareth. Okay. So anyway, y'all can go into the history. So let's go from there. Let's go to Acts 28. Because you're going to hear more of this, these talking points from these different Jakes, that are iffy, that really don't have faith like that. You're going to have more of this talk of, getting away from the camps, separate yourself from any group. Because Jake, they're growing fearful. They know what's actually going on and what's getting ready to happen. All right. And in this thing of ours, we brace for it because we know that it's a given. The Lord said He's gonna send us. We're gonna be brought before kings and governors for His sake. And we're gonna have to testify of our faith and it's going to be basically a humiliation. They're going to try to humiliate us. They're going to speak of us in a bad light. The Lord said, blessed when men shall persecute you and say all manner of evil against you falsely. These type of things are going to happen. All right. They're going to try to people want to try to separate you from their company. They're going to, renounce, what you're a part of and what you believe. So it's already happening. So let's go to Acts 28. I'll read it in the AMP on this one. Here we go. So this is Acts 28, and I'll start at 17. It says, 3 days later, he called together the leaders of the Jews, and when they had gathered, he said unto them, Kinsmen, though I have done nothing against our people or against the customs of our father, yet I was turned over as a prisoner from Jerusalem unto the hands of the Romans. After they had interrogated me, they were ready to release me because I was not guilty of any offense deserving death. Just like our Lord Yahushua Hamashiach. Even Pilate had to, wash his hands because he said, I ain't found nothing guilty in this man. This man is actually innocent. So we know that this energy that's coming from Jake now is going to happen again. All right. They're going to blame us. They're going to say that we're the problem for why all these things are happening. All right. And they're going to just disregard and forget what the scriptures had said. It said, and our people are wicked, man. They truly are. And this is how you understand why a lot of them are going to be destroyed on this side. Verse 18, it says, after they had interrogated me, they were ready to release me because I was not guilty of any offense deserving death. But when the Jews objected to my release, I was forced to appeal to Caesar, which would be Emperor Nero at the time, not because I had any charge to make against my nation. For this reason, I have asked to see you and talk with you, since it is for the sake of the hope of Israel, the Messiah, the resurrection, that I am bound with this chain. Yep. And we all are prisoners in Yahushua. All right. We're bound to the mission, and we're bound with our cross that comes with that mission. So they said to him, we have not received any letters about you from Judea, nor have any of the Jewish brothers or Israelite brothers come here and reported or said anything bad about you. Right? Yeah. Because, we're to behave blameless, not giving any offense that the ministry be not blamed. All right. So the way he carried himself, all right, he embodied what it means to follow that example. All right. And he got persecuted. He called total hell. But nobody had nothing really bad to say unless it was them bearing false witness. And which that's what they doing to us at Great Millstone. They don't have anything on us. Ain't nobody came forward with no text messages or some receipts of any brothers over here doing some unimaginable shit. We're simply known for just teaching, but they're offended at some of the things that we teach, and they also offended at our rebuke because we're known for rebuking and correcting others. So all they could do is just smudge us, all right, with things that are false. And a lot of these guys that accuse us over the years, now you're starting to see that they got skeletons, being exposed. Verse 22, it says, but we would like to hear from you what your views are. That is exactly what you believe. For in regard to this sect, right, this cult, we are fully aware that it is denounced everywhere. And this is what we're seeing right now. Tell me that ain't what's happening. Get away from these groups. Get away from this cult. Get away from this the camp or these camps. So Jake is getting on social media and they're denouncing, all right, our organizations for whatever reason. So, and they coming with this energy because they really don't believe. It's not being mixed with faith when they hear. So you're gonna have those that's gonna believe and be persuaded, and you're gonna have some that's gonna be like, nah, I don't trust them, and that's cool, because we're not here to force your hand. All we simply out here to do is just to teach Israel, give them warning, all right, preach the gospel, and if Jake will gravitate, then beautiful. If not, we still got work to do. Okay. It says, when they had set a day for Paul, they came to his lodging in large numbers, and he carefully explained the basically the message, all right, of the gospel, the doctrine, all right, which was taught by his organization, right, his group, to them from morning until evening, solemnly testifying about the kingdom of the Most High and trying to persuade them concerning Yahushai, both from the law of Moses and from the writings of the prophets. Some were persuaded by what he said, but others would not believe. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen. All right, some of them are going to believe, and some of them are not. And we're this is a savor of life unto life to the true believers, but it's a savor of death unto death for those that don't believe. All right, they don't really like the smell of what's coming out. They don't like this aroma. So they're telling others, hey, stay away from it. Verse 25, they disagreed among themselves and they began to leave after Paul had made one last statement. The Holy Spirit rightly spoke through Isaiah the prophet to your father, saying, go to this people and say, you will keep on hearing, but you will not understand. You will keep on seeing, but you will not perceive. For the heart, the understanding, the soul of this people has become dull, caroused, and with their ears they scarcely hear, and they have shut their eyes to the truth. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and return to me, and I would heal them. So there it is, man. So this is what we're seeing now. So this Jake right here, he don't understand. Yeah, he has a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. So I would have played the whole video, but the Spirit just had me just go into the lesson, and so that y'all can be edified. So anyway, hopefully y'all were edified. I'm gonna give all honor, all praise, and glory to y'all, Bashim Yahushai. Until the next one, Shalom.